I've always said that as long as the protests were within the bounds of the democratic principles, adhering strictly to the law, then there wouldn't be a problem. And there isn't a problem. So from that perspective, it's a nuisance. I guess for those who are directly affected by the protest.
Now, going forward, if these protests do continue, I mean, what should the government's response be? Should you not be listening to the people on the streets?
Well, we are listening to the people on the streets, but there's what, 20, 30,000 of them at the moment on the streets.
There was 100,000 at one point.
Even if it's 100,000, it's not the population. The rules are clear. There will be an election. At the latest, it needs to take place, I think, early 2012. So there's no walking away from that, and no shying away from it. We'll be ready to face an election whenever we think the election is of the benefit of the majority of Thais, and at the latest, no later than early 2012.
A lot of these individuals that are taking place in these protests are obviously from the rural countryside of Thailand, and they feel that their voices are not being heard by the government. How do you respond as Finance Minister when they said that we don't get enough poor
I say that
assistance?
If you look at how our budget is allocated, by far the largest segment is dedicated entirely towards developing the rural area. If you look at the stimulus packages, which are huge, that this government announced over the period of the last 12 months, most of the money is directed towards improving the quality of life of the rural population. We introduced farmers' income guarantee scheme. 4 million farmers registered and received direct benefits from that. We introduced a scheme whereby we were refinancing borrowings from loan sharks. 1.2 million people registered and are receiving direct help from the government. So it's a fallacy, and it's a fallacy that is expanded by Korn Thaksin to create this rural-urban myth, which exists in a way, but it's definitely being addressed by this government, in fact more so than any other previous recent governments, including Korn Thaksin's.
Despite the protests we've seen, the baht has rallied. Still have stocks during that period.
We'd rather be free of these political protests than have them, and I believe over time we can be free of these protests. In the meantime, as I said, everybody's sticking by the rules, everybody behaving relatively in a civilized manner. Growth is good, profitability of listed companies are good, so the value is there. So people.
What about the strong baht?
Strong baht. We have month-on-month trade surplus every month, current account surplus every month, so it's hardly surprising the baht would naturally rise. Depreciation has been natural. We've seen no evidence of hot money coming into the country, so it's not something you can avoid, and it's something that we seem to be able to cope with for the time being.